Hey y'all. So this is Astra, and I am 13 days post-op from my top surgery. I feel like this last week was in some ways the hardest for me, and I think it's just because of the binder. Sleeping with the binder and like wearing the binder 24/7 just makes me feel really dysphoric. Um, And I know folks use binders as like gender affirming garments, but like it was not, it's just like not for me, you know? And I feel like I've gotten a lot more increased mobility and things are going pretty well. I definitely got some like questions about the like just how I'm doing, how things are going. And yeah, things are good. I think the third week was like um me being able to cook by myself, me being able to clean up my apartment without needing extra help. Um yeah, I think like certain things noticing is like just listening how other people talk about my transition. Like I had a friend who was talking about being like male socialized and female socialized, and I like had to check them and was just kind of like that's like people. I don't know. To me, it's like if I had the language of knowing that I was non-binary, I probably would have known like I put would have known from like birth, or known like when I had the space and capacity to name it. And so it's like I was a non-binary person like trying to fit into a cis world. And like yes, like everyone has a relationship to cis normativity and like people have stronger relationships to cis normativity that then like affect how they treat other people, but that's like not because like there's some inherent like femaleness or maleness or anything like that. Um and like I feel like things that happened when I was like really young that like kind of clocked my T was um I was like really against sports because they were gendered. I thought it was like ridiculous. And I don't know, when I was young I had like a gaggle of guy friends. And it wasn't in like a not like the other girls kind of way. I like really wanted deep female friendships. And sometimes I had them, but they were also like kind of homoerotic. Um but I feel like with my guy friends, we like pretended to be wrestlers and like jumped on the trampoline, and I loved the flashy little costumes, which is like honestly gay culture. It's gay culture. I also think like something that was interesting in like my childhood being non-binary was like I feel like my mom and my grandma, who I think saw themselves as enforcers of like femininity, right? Like you're supposed to learn gender from your parents. I was always called like brazen and fast and shameless because like I didn't learn shame about my body. Like I was always like a chubby little kid, and like I thought it was really cute because like that's how kids are supposed to be. And I remember being like maybe like 6 years old and going on this vacation in Florida with my family. And I picked out this like gold lame bikini because it was like flashy and like honestly like faggy. So I don't know. And like my whole family like roasted me for it because they were like, you need to wear like a one piece, like, you need to cover up. And it's like, I'm 6 years old, bro. Like, if someone's looking at me like that, they need to like go to jail? So, but I had like really good fashion sense. And then when I ended up wearing the one piece, I like picked out a red one because I like knew that it looked like a lifeguard, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna like have to cosplay, then let me have a job. And then like my mom would get all these comments about me like, oh, like Astra should be like a child model. And I feel like she hated that. She was like, what the hell? Like, this child is like emanating like some kind of energy of attention and like beauty. And like she hated She was like, you need to be modest. And I was like, I can't help that people think I'm fierce. I really can't help that, mom. Maybe you should be fierce, you know? So, and there was just something so queer about it. Like, there was just a queer energy where I feel like people were like, oh, you're like super unique when I was a little kid. And like, I think because of that, my mom ended up trying to be my biggest op to teach me like how to be humble, even though there's like literally nothing humble about like being very flamboyant. And she would like, I remember I had like a date to like my eighth grade dance, and my mom intentionally did my makeup ugly. And so I learned like, even though I like at the time I didn't know any better, so it's like I really liked my mom. I was like, oh my God, we're like doing makeup together, we're bonding. I did get to a point where I would go to school, my friends would do my makeup for me. We'd like hang out, and I'd wear like hand-me-downs from them, and I'd keep the hand-me-downs in my locker. And then I would I would wipe the makeup off and change before the end of the day. Because that was my gender. That was my gender expression, was being like hot and alt and like cute. Um, I also wasn't allowed to wear my curly hair like out in public. I had to wear these two braids all the time, and my mom was like, your hair's too wild, your hair's too wild. My grandma did that too. Your hair's too wild. And it's like, no, I have really great hair and you just didn't know what to do with it. But yeah, I feel like there was definitely like cues of me being non-binary because of how against the like dividing things by gender I was, and how I was expressing myself. And then I feel like in college, that was when I like regained some of the body confidence that got taken out of me because of growing up in such an oppressive, like really oppressive environment. And so I remember being in Ohio, and like I was at this student organizing conference. It was called like the National Student Power Convergence. And I it was my first time like being out of New York City for an organizing thing, and or New York State for an organizing thing. And I feel like when I was in the city, it was like I was so wrapped up in like being working class, and like I definitely cared about my queerness, but it was like very much, I just didn't see like, what would I say? I saw myself as like an organizer who was queer. And so like there's like not a utility to flamboyance, there's not a utility to expression, and so it's like something that was kind of put on the shelf. Um and so like at this conference I saw like a fat person in a crop top, and I was like mesmerized. I was like, oh my God, like you could wear those clothes and not have people like say shit to you, or like you can wear those clothes and not care about the shit people say to you. It like opened up a whole new world for me because in like in being an activist, there's Saul Alinsky who writes Rules for Radicals, right? And a lot of the organizing coming out of like like when I was in college, like Occupy was a thing, and so people were like talking about Rules for Radicals, and it's like the goal in that book is to dress as respectably as possible so as many people would listen to you. But I think people know when you're being fake. And like, I don't think Alinsky was like particularly interested in like authenticity and honesty. And so it's like, I was learning, there were a lot of organizing traditions. Um, and like, I feel like the queer organizing spaces was where I was most comfortable, but then it was like, I wanted to do these huge mass campaigns against like student debt and like just access in general, which I did later on. But I think at the time I was just like absorbing all this information, and so like yeah, I think it really saved me to meet other organizers who were like freaky and weird. It changed things for me where I was less about like the utility and like does this move my goals forward, and more like, okay, how does this actually make me feel? Um Someone asked about like my social transition, which was like a little complicated because um I was around and like very close to like binary trans people, specifically like binary trans men, and I just didn't really. I knew I was experiencing dysphoria, like I was absolutely experiencing chest dysphoria, but I didn't want to like, and I still don't think I want to go on T. I feel like, what did I say? I just don't have a desire for it. I feel like oftentimes I'm read as like androgynous. Um, and maybe that's just like wishful thinking on my part, but that's how I feel. And so I was like, well, I don't want to like I don't want to do that. And so like my social transition kind of happened late where I was like, yeah, I'm like a she they, I'm a she they. And then when I stopped having to like be around cis people, like I like lost my job, and I was staying in a co-op, and I was just kind of like, look, like just use they them for me. And I think that's kind of when I had more time to myself and I wasn't thinking as externally, um I realized like a lot of the things I was hanging on to before my social transition was like for other people and not me. And like I don't know, when I decided to just go by solely like they them pronouns, like everyone was pretty happy and supportive for me. So I didn't feel like I didn't have a lot of pushback. Um and then yeah. And then people asked about like trans medicalism, and like I feel like trans medicalists don't know what to do with me because like technically like I've gotten top surgery, right? Um and like I'm on Spiro, I'm on hormones just in the other direction. But I feel like where I'm transitioning to is like androgynous, it's not, it's like outside of like male and female. And so it's like I'm transitioning just like not to a destination within the gender binary. And I feel like that gets like a really that just gets really weird for people who are trans medicalists or whatever. So I don't know. I also just feel like if people like have shit to say to me about my transition, then like I'll just handle it, right? It's like I'm not I'm like not doing this for anyone else besides myself. And like this is my journey, this is my body. I believe in a body autonomy. This is what I want to do with my body, so this is what it is. And that's a valid transition. Um yeah, and then folks like have been asking like, you know, what what was challenging about this surgery? And I feel like my first week, there was like not really a lot of space to think about dysphoria. It was like I was sleeping, I was eating, I was with my friends. I had a friend come over literally every day to like help me with stuff. And I just felt really loved and cared for. The second week was hard because I feel like I started experiencing dysphoria with the binder. And I also felt like a lot of vulnerability and having everything become more invisible, like having the healing process become more invisible because I feel like there were moments where I pushed myself past my limit because the people that I was around didn't understand that I was still in a fragile space. And then I think recently I've been really good at having boundaries with work. My job is really supportive. I've been like showing up to work meetings, but like not signing myself up for things that like not signing up for extra shit. Like I'm not trying to go further than my capacity. Since it's a busy week at work, my social calendar is a little bit more relaxed. Um, and I also think something that really helped my wellness, my happiness and my wellness was that I had a friend come with me to a land restoration workshop and like being in the dirt, like sitting in the dirt and like um digging out invasive plants so like other plants can thrive was like really it just I needed to be with the land. Um and I feel like it's just there's like things about the research for my like I have been pausing on the research for my book and like now I feel like I'm back in it and like being able to be back working on the locational astrology book just makes me feel happy and well. And so I feel like this upcoming week I just have to be really like I have to make some time like plan some time to be outside, plan some time to work on the book. um I've been reading Toni Morrison just because I feel like her way of being and doing things is helpful for my process. Her sun is right on my Venus. And so I feel like there's something special about her. And yeah, I think digging deeper into like communing with the land and also reading and being and then like seeing what comes out of me is going to help me go back into the flow of where I want to be in life. Yeah, so yeah, this week has been somewhat challenging but okay, and I just feel really grateful that this is the last time that I'm gonna have to wear the binder. Um, yeah, binder's off tomorrow, so it's really exciting. Yeah, so thank you for watching my video, and I will maybe give another update.